This is not the fasting Olympics. It's not a hard push to lose weight in perimenopause and keep it off and do it gently. It's not about being good. It's about feeling good. And when feeling good or feeling well is driving your choices, as an intermittent faster, it gets easier and easier to make all the things that matter to you get clearer and easier.
Imagine hitting the reset button on your metabolism that not only revitalizes your energy, but also reshapes your body without the typical struggle of traditional diets. Hi, I'm Jill Collins, and today we're diving into one of the most powerful tools we can use to conquer midlife weight challenges, intermittent fasting. No, I'm not talking about skipping meals. This is a strategic approach to reinvigorate your body's natural rhythms and accelerate weight loss, specifically tailored to those in midlife. Together with Laurie Lewis, a leading expert in intermittent fasting, we'll explore how this method helps shed pounds faster and more sustainably. We'll provide instructions on how to start and how to keep going with daily fasting and a healthy eating regimen. So whether you're new to intermittent fasting or looking to refine your strategy, we'll equip you with everything you need to know to achieve your health goals with ease and confidence. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Jill Collins Connections. I am so amazingly excited to share with you my guest today. She's incredible. We met on Clubhouse a couple years ago and reconnected on Instagram recently, talking about Vipassana, where I did the 10-day silent meditation retreat. And we're going to be talking about that in the next episode. She's an intermittent fasting expert and wellness coach. And I have been dying to talk to someone about intermittent fasting. So excited to share with you today, Laurie Lewis. And Laurie, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you today.
Thank you, Jill. I'm excited to be with you.
Yeah, it's so exciting. We talked the other day on the phone and rekindled our relationship and chatted about various things, including Vipassana. And then I said, well, tell me what you're doing with intermittent fasting for midlife women. And you said, told me your story. And I instead of me telling it, I'd love to have you tell us when you realized intermittent fasting was so helpful to you and what happened in your life that made you go through that process and say, this is something I want to work on.
It was quite an awakening. So I had considered myself kind of a nutrition expert because in my late 20s, I had the only way to describe it is an epiphany. And it started like this. I think this Diet Coke might not be good for me. That's how it started. And from there, I actually decided to start studying nutrition as just a fun thing to do and how to fuel myself well, how to be a healthy person. I stopped eating sugar. I stopped drinking soda and juice and so for years, I knew myself as a person who cared about taking good care of myself and my health and fitness and nutrition. And people in my life knew me as that. So when I suffered greatly through perimenopause, which are the transition years from fertility to menopause, and suddenly gained 50 pounds, started piling on when I was 49 years old. I was confused, and everyone else in my life was also, because what happened? So I knew it had to be the hormonal chaos of perimenopause and menopause, because I always say I ate the exact same way when I was lean and fit and running marathons. I ate the exact same way when I was miserable and had brain fog and memory loss, and my balance was off, and I had frozen shoulder, and I was aching head to toe, and I gained 50 pounds. Nothing changed in my nutrition. And then I ate the exact same way when I lost the 50 pounds. So what was the difference? The difference was the hormonal chaos of perimenopause and menopause, and then the introduction of intermittent fasting. And the way I found out about it was, remember, I considered myself, well studied in nutrition, and I was familiar with long-term therapeutic fasting. But I had never heard of intermittent fasting, which is a medical term, where you live your life with a regimen, a daily schedule of mindfully fasting, refraining from food and nutrients and flavors, and then eating in an eating window. And I went to visit my mom in Colorado for an extended visit. And she said, I remember, I was despondent. I was like, do I have to give in and start believing that it's all downhill from here, and I just let myself go? I was in pain and I was miserable. And then my mom said, let's use this time that you're home to turn the weight around. Oh, yeah. So I don't know about you, but my daughter ears did not hear that in as loving a way as she intended. And I went nuts. I became just a wailing, foot stomping 5-year-old. And I was 54. And she listened incredibly lovingly. And she said that she was going to pray for an answer. And that night, I Googled the same thing I always had, like stubborn, fat, menopausal misery, help me. And up popped intermittent fasting. And I thought, how have I never heard of this? And I stayed up all night reading about it and watching, Dr. Fung, Jason Fung videos and so forth. This was 7 years ago. I started that very same day, and I've had an eating window every day. And the amazing thing, Jill, was I lost the weight that I'd put on quite slowly and methodically over 15 months, but I felt amazing within 3 days. I remember standing in that same place in my mom's kitchen, and I had the thought, oh, there I am. I don't even know, like, what does that even mean? Right? It was like, oh, there I am. Like, I was clear, sharp, grounded myself. I was back in my body in 3 days of keeping an eating window. And so now I get to help other people do it. It's amazing.
I hope you're enjoying today's episode. And if you are, consider subscribing. 93% of you that listen to this podcast regularly have not yet subscribed. If you like this channel, can you do me a quick favor and hit the subscribe button? It helps this channel more than you know. And the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests get. Thank you. I love that. That's incredible. So your mom tells you got to work on this, and she doesn't give you like exactly the tools, but you went to work. You said, okay, this. Sometimes when we get offended, we're like, okay, well, maybe I better do something about it, and you did. Instead of just feeling sorry for yourself or blaming, you went, okay, let me see what I can do. But I think that's so awesome. And then you said, which I think is so telling about intermittent fasting, and everyone definitely get your notebooks out because, ladies, this is so important. I've been doing intermittent fasting before I even realized what it was for 7, almost 8 years when my husband passed away. And I just ate when I wanted to. And it usually happened to be a window later in the day. And I was just eating 1 or 2 meals, light meals. And I wasn't eating like the 3 meals a day that, we did back when I was married. Is that, okay, it's breakfast, it's time to eat, it's lunch, it's time to eat, it's dinner, it's time to eat. What are we going to order for dinner? What are we going to make for dinner? It was when did I feel like eating? And it just seemed like, and I was very much into high protein at the time. And so I wasn't eating any carbs. And so we'll talk about that in a minute about the sugar burners versus the fat burners. I want to talk about how that in our cravings is, but I think it's so amazing that you said when you did intermittent fasting within 3 days, your head felt clear, you felt grounded, you felt sharp. Whoa, that's huge.
It is.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll never forget that moment. And it's been 7 years. And so keeping an eating window every day is an incredible way to live. It's flexible. In the beginning, we'll talk more about the hows and structure of it and so forth. But in the beginning, it can be very helpful for any human being to be consistent with the same thing because you're learning a new habit. But ultimately, the beauty of fasting clean, and I'll say more about that too, fasting clean and keeping an eating window is every day you get to say, when's my eating window today? You look at your day, what it holds. You have lunch with friends, or when's your dinner? Or maybe you're someone who doesn't even want to eat dinner. Maybe you want to eat breakfast and lunch. Or it's just what's happening in your life today. And so when people are discovering the eating window that works best for them, it's a matter of what you're discovering, what feels really well to me and my body, what feels good, what works with my life and the other people in it, and what are my goals? Because somebody could keep a 16-8 schedule forever. You take the 24 hours of the day and divide it by your fasting hours. Let's say it's 16 hours. And your eating window, let's say it's 8. Someone could do 16-8 forever and have 2 meals and a snack in 8 hours and feel great. But maybe that isn't the therapeutic schedule to help them turn around their A1C or reach their weight loss goals, or, so everybody's different, but it has to include those 3 factors. I think it has to feel amazing to you. It has to work with your life. And we want you to reach your weight and health goals.
I love those three steps of those three things that it takes. And it's funny when you said you get to decide when your feeding window is. I think I never thought of that, but you realize how empowering that is. You do, but everyone listening and watching, this is so empowering. We think a diet is restrictive, and I intuitively, when you said that, a light bulb went off. I do what you're saying is that when I know I'm going to have a birthday dinner, or like I did the other night with friends, or someone says let's go to lunch. It's like, okay, all right. So if I'm going to do lunch, then I won't do anything for dinner, or I'll have something light at dinner, and I'll eat at 12, 1 o'clock, whenever we're scheduled to meet. And it's just because I guess I just think that I don't want to be spending all day long eating, and I don't eat breakfast usually. So it's like that's a really great thing. It's that you get to decide what your life's going to be like. So and you're saying you could actually have your window being in the morning, which we talked about Vipassana, how we eat so early at that thing, but it is still a feeding window, so you can choose when you want to do it.
What I hear in what you're saying, it's subtle, but I think we live in a world, what I call the punishment model now, which is where diet mindset, diet mentality, restrictive, allowing, good and bad, perfectionism. When you can step outside of that and choose a world where you're feeling well and you're listening to your own inner authority, what I hear and what you just said, you're looking at your day, you're choosing when your eating window is. What's doing the choosing there is feeling well. What was driving your choices was, well, I've got this earlier lunch, and you're basing your decision on your eating window around what's going to have me feel my best, not what am I allowed? What does the plan tell me I can and can't do? I'm not, and so we shift from this restrictive punishment model into this. It's not about being good. Everybody's on a plan. They're trying to be good. It's not about being good. It's about feeling good. And when feeling good or feeling well is driving your choices, as an intermittent faster, it gets easier and easier to make choices based on how well you feel, as opposed to what you should be doing and what you're allowed, and you're trying to be good and you're trying to avoid being bad. That wasn't any part of your decision making.
You said a mouthful there. That is so good. I know, in a good way. In a good way. That was so good. It was just gold bars there. It was just really solid, because that's the difference. That's the mindset. And to me, when I'd gotten to a point where I know certain foods won't make me feel good, so I don't even crave them. Everyone pushes dessert on me all the time. And for me, I don't like sweets. I know what sugar does to my body. And it's not like they always say, oh, you're being so good. I'm like, no, I really don't like it. Have you ever think about a food you just detest that you can't stand eating? It's like that. You get to a point where it's like, it's just not worth it. In Spanish, we say, no vale la pena. It's not worth it. It's just not worth the effort to just, I know that there's something I may have craved. I was on this kick for a while here where I would get buying what they call media lunas con grasa. It's like croissants, but are made with shortening, with fat, fat. And I would do that in the morning I did this for like a couple of weeks. I don't know. A few weeks ago, I ordered one, and I was like, I haven't had one of these in so long, and they're really crunchy, and I was dipping in my coffee, and I was on this kick, and I'm like, you know what, Jill? That is such a quick little. I mean, it's a minute or 2 minutes, and I eat really little bites. My friends call it Jill bites. I eat small because I say it takes a long time to eat. You can enjoy it and savor it. Don't just wolf it down. But I would eat these things, and I'm like, that's like 30 seconds to a minute of pleasure. That is not worth it. And so it's like, don't crave them, because it's almost like I know what my body's going to feel like. I think we have that. A lot of us have that, where they are popping Tums or antacids because they know if they're going to eat a big greasy meal, they know it's not going to make them feel good. And so is it worth it? And I love that, where you said it's the punishment model that we've been living by, but really it's more of this feeling well or feeling good. And that's what we have to shift in our mindset, to be saying, is this going to make me feel good? Tell us just a typical day, what it looks like when we intermittent fast.
So I said fasting clean, and here's what I mean by that and how that affects how I feel throughout the day and how we navigate the day. So fasting clean means what I call a purist fast. Keep it very simple. It's really binary. Plain unflavored water of any temperature or sparkliness. Okay, hot water, lukewarm water, freezing water, whatever, of any sparkliness. Plain unflavored black coffee. If you like coffee, you don't drink coffee, don't start drinking coffee. Plain
No,
unflavored.
no lime or no lemon in the water.
Nope. And I'll explain why.
Okay.
Plain unflavored bitter black or green tea. Plain unflavored electrolytes or minerals like magnesium, sodium, and your medication as prescribed. Here's why I think fasting clean is so important. First off, taking in no food flavors or nutrients makes fasting easier. So you think, what's a little squeeze of lemon? Okay, now, true, it might have a tiny little effect, a tiny little blip in the digestive process or hormones. But what it's doing is it's sending food signals to your brain. It sends the signals to your brain that food is incoming. It's like, yay, anything that excites the digestive tract we want to avoid because it makes fasting harder when we introduce or excite, any of those food flavors or nutrients. Now, people will say, well, coffee's a flavor. It's been proven that very bitter flavors do not excite the system like lemon or cucumber or, whatever other flavors a person would ingest to entertain themselves through the fasting hours, which is another thing we want to avoid. Okay? We want to notice how much we want to entertain ourselves when we are bored and how much we want to soothe ourselves with food and food flavors. Okay, the other aspect is nutrients. So someone could say, well, if bitter is okay, dandelion tea, that's really bitter. Yeah, but it's chocked full of nutrients. So what we want to avoid are food flavors and nutrients. And people will say, but lemon's so cleansing and good for you. Great, have it in your eating window. Apple cider vinegar, so awesome. Have it in your eating window. So it makes it quite binary. Boring, plain, unflavored during the fasting hours. Exciting, delicious later in your eating window. Okay. So the other aspect is it not only makes fasting easier, but we get the physiological benefits from keeping insulin low and putting ourselves into a complete digestive rest and allowing the body full repair when we're in a fasted state. So deep cellular repair, burning our own body fat, digging in, utilizing any stored sugar that's hiding out anywhere, and ramping up human growth hormone, lowering inflammation. Like, we want all the healing benefits from the fasting hours. It's much like sleep. It's not optional. We just didn't know it. So if we relate to the fasting hours as the hours that I'm in repair, my healing hours, it makes it a lot easier to save all the fun flavors and deliciousness and nutrients and food for entertainment. People are like, I love mint tea. Great. Have it in your eating window.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you just blew this for me.
I know.
So no artificial sweeteners, nothing to tease or entertain the
So
digest.
here's the thing. If a person, you got to look at your own self. If a person is in their ideal weight and their metabolic health is exceptional and their fitness is great, like you're a healthy person, inflammation is low, your immunity is then you get to choose what you're gonna, what and when you're gonna ingest. But when you have that sweet coffee, your eating window's open. Just take the piss. Your eating window's open.
So everyone, just to tell you know, right now I have not been fasting.
Well,
Having my
now
coffee and cappuccinos in the morning, and that's not good. Okay.
now there are plenty of, you can find anything on the internet that will disagree with me. So where I'm standing is we want all the healing benefits. We want all the repair. We want to keep blood sugar low. We want to keep insulin low. We want to tap into our body fat. We want the deep cellular repair called autophagy. We want appetite correction. We want our hormones to be balanced. We want all of it, all of it. So, and you get to say, when you open your eating window and what you open it with. And so if you want to open it with your coffee the way you love it, then your eating window's open because the body is recognizing incoming stuff I got to deal with, stuff I got to process.
Okay. This is so eye-opening and a little depressing.
And upsetting.
I'm kidding. A little bit, yeah. But this is great. So this would probably, I need to adjust this. And this is going to be a kind of a rudimentary question, but I think for someone who knows absolutely about intermittent fasting, I think this is something to ask is, can you have more than one fasting window in a day? Like, can you say, okay, I'm going to have 2-hour fasting window? And I kind of know the answer, but I think it's something that's worth asking is, can you combine them together? So I'm going to have a coffee for an hour and then I'm not going to eat for 6 hours and then I'm going to have something. How does that work?
Okay. So you have one eating window and a big A&D. It's incredibly healthful. We are not a grazing animal, like no matter what we've been told for the last 50 years. So it is incredibly helpful to eat something to satiety. Now, even if that's your coffee the way you like it, and then pause, let insulin come back down in between meals, wait till hunger arises to an actual meal, eat a variety of nutrients, eat food that makes you, I always say, eat the foods you love that love you back. Okay. So it's a discovery. Like, what are the foods that I look forward to eating later in my eating window that also make me feel amazing and so satisfied? Gosh, that was delicious. I feel so well. And then your own body, once you're a consistent intermittent faster, phenomenon kicks in called appetite correction, and your own body will tell you when it's satisfied. We don't trust or know that our own body will say, stop eating now. And it will when you're fasting clean and keeping an eating window and you eat till you're satisfied and then you pause and you eat again. Your own body will say, I'm good. You can stop now. And then if you still have food on your plate, you wrap it up and eat the rest tomorrow in your eating window.
That is so good. It is so good. Okay, that really clarified things. And I think those who are looking at doing this is someone who's concerned or thinking about the idea of intermittent fasting. What would you, if someone in midlife and they're skeptical or curious about starting, what advice would you give them to get started?
Well, I encourage people to relate to it differently. Normally, we relate to things as a thing I'm going to try out. Okay. And what I'd love for people to feel confident about is that human beings as a species have survived through all human history due to food scarcity. So we are designed to thrive in a fasted state. We get sharper, brighter, inflammation comes down, we have more stamina. And so the body is designed to pause from food. So this is not a thing, like a newfangled thing you're going to try out. This is actually taking a step to do something, establish a new practice, a new habit that matches our design, that you're going to get amazing benefit from. And the reason it sounds too good to be true is because it so matches our physiology that people feel very well very quickly and can turn around a whole host of challenges. So remind me of your question again, because I want to make sure
No, I think you covered it. I was just talking about someone who is looking at the idea of it and curious about starting it, and what would they do first?
So what they would do first is get that mindset established that you're doing something very healthful for yourself that's actually enabled human beings to survive through all history and will help you personally feel better today and live longer. And then you start today at the end of the day. So if someone's like, oh, I think I'll try that, and I'll start next Monday. This isn't a diet. You can start today. Okay. So you just look at your day today and you say, when's my last meal going to be? Okay. For you, Jill, what do you think your last meal will be today? What time?
Probably around 7 at the latest. Yep.
Yep. 7.
But a lot of times I just have that because I haven't eaten yet today. Well, I guess I did because I had coffee with milk and whatever.
Yeah.
And Splenda or Sweet and Low, whatever it was I used, stevia, something. And so, but usually it's sort of like at the end of my day when I'm done with you, talking with you, it's 4:30 my time here. So by the time I wrap everything up, I'll start to think, oh, am I hungry yet? And if I'm not hungry, I don't start. I wait till I feel like I'm hungry. And I know it sounds weird that I haven't really eaten, but I guess I did because I did have the coffee. But maybe that's why I'm not hungry. But usually it's around 7. I'll start thinking, okay, I better start making something. I've wrapped everything up. Do I want to order something? Do I want to make a salad? Do I want to, or whatever it is, right? So then that's
Perfect.
when I start thinking about it.
Great. And so if you look at what your day holds today and that maybe around 7 you'll eat, when will you be done?
Well, in a perfect world, I'd say by, 8 or 9. And then
Okay.
but my problem is sometimes I will watch something or I'll do something like that. And I'll end up, I told you when we talked, is like I'll grab a snack because if I don't fall asleep till 11, that's like 4 hours. I'm going, yeah, maybe I should eat something again. I only ate one thing today. And then I talk myself into eating something else, like maybe some cashews before bed, which is
Yeah.
not do. So that's where my big hang up is, other than when I found out about the
Well,
coffee.
and maybe your body is saying, I need a little something more, or maybe it's a habit that's correlated with whatever entertainment you're doing that night. So everybody out there who's listening, you want to just look for yourself. When am I going to have my last meal? Feel satisfied. I got enough nutrients. And some people do have a late night snacking habit to break. And so everybody out there decide, what time today are you going to close your eating window? There's no best time. You get to say, and it's just today. Okay. So today, not forever. What time today are you going to close your eating window? And it can be helpful to make a little post-it or set an alarm on your phone, like last call, eating window closing. And then you close your eating window, you drink plain water, you go to bed. You might be bored. It's like, I don't know what to do with myself if I'm not eating something. Okay, go to sleep. Wake up tomorrow. And when you wake up, if you drink coffee, have a black coffee, have some water, and add 12 hours. So whatever time you said today, you're going to close your eating window today, add 12 hours. Could be 7 to 7. It could be 11 to 11. It could be 4 to 4, whatever you say. For many people, that's hard. For many people, they're eating or drinking flavored drinks right up until they go to bed. They're getting 6, 7, 8 hours of sleep, and they're starting up with the flavored drinks the minute they wake up. So it can be hard for some people to stretch that to 12. For other people are like, 12, that's nothing. Okay, then go an hour, go 13. And what you're going to do is practice fasting clean for those 12 hours. You're going to gradually increase the fasting hours, shrink the eating window. When you open your eating window, eat normally. Okay, so we're going to do only one thing at a time. We're not going to pull out all the stops. And if you haven't been to, start everything all at once. No, we're doing one thing. We're going to eat normally. We're going to fast clean at least 12 hours. We're going to gradually increase that. So eat normally is what you normally eat. And then I think within a week or two, 7 to 14 days, you want to get to an 8-hour eating window. Now, some people are like, I can do that on day one. Then go for it. Fabulous. But going gradually works for most people because that's what's sustainable. And there's a lot of discovery in going gradually. And people are less likely to quit when they go gradually. But if you can work up to a 16-hour clean fast and an 8-hour eating window. So Jill, I bet you could have a black coffee and then you could have your coffee how you like it at noon or 1, and then have your dinner at 7 and close your eating window by 8. And then you've got an 8-hour eating window. And it's a matter of, again, starting with what's your current level of health and fitness? Is there anything you want to turn around? If there are people out there are like, I heard I could have my coffee how I want to. And well, just do an experiment. Fast clean, have black coffee, have your coffee how you like it in your eating window. Fast clean for a month and see what you're able to shift in terms of health numbers, health markers, and how you feel. Just test it out.
Okay. That is so eye-opening. That's really great because that's a real great step to start, is that you're not saying change your diet if you're just getting started. It's just start with the fasting part. Try to do the 8-hour or the 12-hour window. And that's not that hard because if you eat, most people, especially in the US, don't eat that late. And so if there's no snacking going on after that, then you really can actually do the 12 hours pretty easily.
Yeah.
And you're saying that actually will be the first step, and I bet you'd see a lot of changes just from that one thing.
Oh, yes. One of the big changes that people see is what their current habits are that they didn't realize were their current habits.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Really an awakening at the automaticity of I'm sitting in this chair watching this show, and at a particular time, all of a sudden my brain goes, "Ooh, I could have some," fill in the blank. So for many people, when you decide to close that eating window and shift to drinking plain water in the evening, whatever time it is, they need to change up their evening habits. Sit in a different chair, go to a different room because if you're doing the exact same thing that you always do when you have that evening snack or, drink of wine or whatever, you might have to change up your evening habits to make that easier for yourself.
It
But
could be just that one thing. That's
just that
amazing.
one thing.
Amazing.
It is.
I want to go back because you said there was something else you said in the things to about the black coffee or or
Yes.
black tea or whatever, and then our medications. You said something about electrolytes quickly, and I tell us what you mean by that.
Great. So
I'm
I'll rattle through the list again if people didn't catch it all. Plain unflavored water, plain unflavored black coffee, plain unflavored bitter black or green tea. So that means tea leaves. It doesn't mean mint or chamomile. Okay. And also like Earl Grey has orange flavor in it. Okay. So you want to look at the ingredient and have it say black tea, like, or green tea. That's it. And then plain unflavored minerals or electrolytes. Okay. So we need more magnesium, and we are across the board deficient in magnesium. And most magnesium drinks or capsules either have flavors or added ingredients and added nutrients and added junk. So you want to look at finding a magnesium capsule. There's a lot more magnesium in a capsule than in an electrolyte drink. Element, LMNT, has a plain unflavored electrolyte powder drink. But I say go for the product that has the most minerals in it, which would be a product like Bioptimizer's Magnesium Breakthrough. Each capsule has 250 milligrams of magnesium. Great. Take one or two in the evening. Take one in the morning while you're fasting. They're clean fast approved because it's 7 types of magnesium and no added ingredient. So when we are in a fasted state and insulin is low, yay, which we want, the kidneys, and I don't know why, the kidneys tend to dump magnesium and sodium. So sometimes when we're fasting, especially in the beginning, during the adaptation phase, the first month, you can start to feel either a low grade headache coming on or a little woozy. And that's usually, people think it's blood sugar, but and I'm not a doctor, but what it usually is low minerals. So you can take a pinch of high quality salt, put a few grains under your tongue, brighten right up, or take a magnesium capsule, or take a if you notice that around 15 hours fasted, you get a little woozy, take a magnesium at 14 hours to make sure that doesn't happen. And it's also great if you work out in the morning to have a black coffee, have some water, and take a magnesium before you exercise and work out in a fasted state because you're cranking up the fat burning.
The thing about exercise, I know everyone says that, is that I've got to eat because I exercise in the morning. So I've got to eat something to have the energy to exercise. Or after they exercise. Isn't that sometimes it's just conditioning and what we think about it?
Right. We have the energy on our bodies. So I'm at my ideal weight. I reached my weight goal within 15 months and it's a miracle. I'm in menopause. I'm 61 years old. I set out to lose weight. I lost the weight and I've kept it off. And I have about 20 to 23% body fat. So a quarter of my whole self is fat. I'm not going to run out. And when I do a tough exercise, whether it's a long yoga class or Pilates or Orange Theory or, brisk walk in the morning, I am in a fasted state, utilizing my own body fat that's on my own body for energy. I'm never going to run out. And it feels amazing.
Oh, that's great. I love that so much. That was really eye-opening because I think I've heard that story so many times. So many people tell me that they can't fast because they work out. They only have time to work out in the morning, so they've got to eat something.
A
Um,
great example for this is there's a guy in the UK named Brian Peters, and he's 50 something. and he turned his health around with intermittent fasting. And now he's an ultra marathon runner, and he runs I, at least of the long runs. I think at least the first half, so the half marathon, 13.1 fasted. There's a guy in Utah who twice has run 100 miles at high altitude in a fasted state. So these people are proving that even in long endurance situations that the human body thrives in a fasted state, and we have plenty of fuel on board. And
Oh,
our body's not going to start burning our muscle for fuel. Okay, we don't have to worry about that. As Jason Fung says, it's not that stupid. If we want to build muscle, we lift heavy objects and work out more, but our own body is going to use what it knows is fuel, fat and sugar first.
okay. Well, there we go. That was what I want to talk about next, because when we talked the other day, you mentioned the difference why people are hungry versus not hungry, and you called them sugar burners versus fat burners. Do you want to explain what that is?
Absolutely. So when we eat all the time, and I include drinking flavored drinks as eating because you're taking in flavors and it's keeping insulin up and, affecting your blood sugar. When we are taking in nutrients and food flavors all the time, our body is in a state of looking for sugar for fuel. And it's always meaning food for fuel. When we go through the adaptation phase and become an intermittent faster, and you're fasting clean and keeping an eating window and shrinking that eating window, our bodies flip a metabolic switch, which means when we have used the blood and the sugar in our blood and use the stored sugar in our liver and different places in our body called glycogen, after about 3 to 4 weeks, the body goes, oh, we ran out of that stored sugar. And then it flips the metabolic switch, which is shifting into fat burning, and we become fat adapted. So if, when people say, oh, I tried intermittent fasting, it was really hard, I couldn't do it. And I ask, how long did you do it for? And they're like, 2 weeks. I'm like, you didn't make it through. You didn't get to the fat burning side. So once you become fat adapted, every single day around 12 or 13 hours, your body's flipping into fat burning mode, which is a nice, clean, stable energy. So people who, for example, who drink bulletproof coffee and they put fat in their coffee, they're like, oh, it's so great. I have this nice, stable energy from the fat, and then I don't need to eat until much later. Great. Look at it this way. Wouldn't you rather burn the fat on your body than the fat in your coffee cup? I know I would. I want to be burning the fat on my body, not the fat in my coffee cup. So most people who eat all the time, take in flavored drinks and nutrients from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed, are sugar burners. And it's really enlivening and energizing to be a fat burner. It feels really
Wow.
good.
And that's amazing. And you said how long when you said a person stopped after 2 weeks. What is the magic time frame to start being a fat adapted, being a fat adaptive state?
There's not an exact moment because it depends on what you're eating in your eating window and the quality of food. And also it depends on when you're starting, how quickly or gradually you're working up to a 16/8 schedule. So it can be around the 3-week mark, approximately, when a person experiences a bright, clean energy. I felt better in 3 days, though. Like, for me, when I started, I thought, well, I like black coffee and I'm never hungry in the morning. So it wasn't that hard for me to go until noon on day 1. And then I thought, well, noon to 8, that makes sense. But I was visiting my mom, and we watched the news at 5:30 and eat at 6:30. So pretty quickly, I was doing a 6-hour eating window, 6.5 hours from noon to 6:30, let's say. And then after that, for a few weeks, maybe 5, 6 weeks, someone challenged me to a 20-hour fast. Now, let me tell you, there's a big difference between 18 hours and 20. 20 was hard. 20 helped me feel how good it feels to get past that 18-hour mark, especially when you're have hormonal imbalance and a lot of weight to lose and brain fog. And I felt so much better fasting longer than 18 hours. So to answer your question about when does that happen and when do you become fat adapted, it depends on the quality of your food and how long you're fasting. But you will
Okay.
feel it. Usually a person goes through about 2 or 3 days of being kind of grumpy and cranky and short with people.
Mhm.
And people report back to me. They're like, "Oh, it happened. I was really moody for a few days." It's like, "Great. That means you drained that tank, your liver, drained your liver of glycogen, and your body's like, "Oh, come on, feed me, feed me, feed me." And you're like, "Nope, switch into fat burning." And it
Okay.
does, and it feels good.
Well, that just made me think of something is that we go through that effort and you said, "Oh, darn, after 2 weeks, you just, didn't give it long enough." What about cheat days? Everyone is always because that's how we're conditioned is, "Oh, you can have a cheat day."
Okay. So cheat days for me live inside that punishment model. Cheaters are bad, right? So I'm quite particular about the language that we use and what is demoralizing and unmotivating. So cheat days to me, I would say, are you really asking? I know what's best for me. I know what has me feel my best. I've been intermittent fasting for over a month and I keep this, fasting clean. I keep this eating window. And then there's some fun occasion or somebody gives me some food that I don't normally eat and I eat it. Or this occasion happens and I have a longer eating window today. Is that cheating? No. You chose. You looked at your day. You are clear about what has you feel well and getting clearer about what has you not feel well. And things are happening in your life and you make a choice. That's awesome. That is awesome because you chose, you're responsible for your choices. It's a great way to live. And then you get to notice how it made you feel. So it's not cheating, it's choosing.
Okay. Not cheating, it's choosing. That's really powerful. That's really powerful. And there's something that really clarifies the whole thing that we've always are saying, well, I had this thing, but I had this whole weekend, people were in town and, I had to do this thing and it's choosing. It's just choosing. And
And Jill, sorry,
no, please.
every day you have an eating window. See, it's more of diet mindset and diet world and punishment model is I'm doing it, I'm not doing it. I'm doing it, I'm not doing it. I fell off for the weekend and now I have to start up again. If you live your life like I sleep every day, some people are sleep deprived. Maybe we need some more sleep, but at least you do it every day. Same thing with having an eating window. You just get to say when it is. So rather than stopping and starting and doing it and not doing it, if every day you have an eating window and you get to say when it is, then people in from out of town, you welcome them, you have lunch and dinner, maybe you'll have brunch the next day, maybe you have a 10-hour eating window, maybe then you're like, "Oh my gosh, that's a lot of eating." You're realizing. You're like, "I kind of feel sluggish and that's a lot of preparation and cooking and eating and I can't wait till Monday because then I'm just going to go right back into my favorite eating window." That's not punitive. That's not cheating. That's not doing it. You're choosing a longer eating window. I think the reason I can say I've had an eating window every day for 7 years is because I have at least fasted 12 hours. And sometimes I remember I was at the wine festival where was I? In North Carolina with a bunch of friends, and we'd stayed up late the night before. I'm like, "Oh man, okay." I switched to water at whatever time it was. That means I'm fasting. I added 12 hours and everybody made it so much fun. They all got they did a big countdown to Laurie's 12-hour mark. And when I had the food and the drink in front of me that I could eat at the 12-hour mark, which makes it fun.
Well, that's exactly, we talked about this too, is when you fast. Oh, how do you deal with it when eating around others? We shared a couple of funny stories about that and how just everyone is like trying to get you to eat what you don't want to eat. Or how do you deal with that when you start to do this and incorporate it into your life with those who are not intermittent fasting? because I think sometimes, I mean, for me, I end up ordering something off the appetizer menu, just so I'm kind of pushing it around and trying to look,
Yeah.
and it's more for them to not feel uncomfortable than it is for me to like really want to eat it, but a lot of times I just am not, like I went to lunch the other day with friends and they ordered lunch and I'm like, I'm just not hungry yet. And so, I just had coffee, and with cream, and which I'm not going to do anymore. But aside from that, how do people deal with this? How do you incorporate this where it feels comfortable and you're not, and everyone, you just get used to it, I guess. I don't know. Tell us what you do.
I think that is one of the biggest challenges. So think of it this way too. Physiologically, we are designed to eat food when it's in front of us. Imagine food scarcity through all human history. If there's food in front of you, we must eat it because we don't know when the food's coming again. Okay, so here we are in modern times where food is overly plentiful 24/7. And when food is in front of us, we are inclined to eat it. And then there's the social obligation. Okay, so what happens is over time, as a person is fasting clean and discovering for themselves their favorite eating window, what feels so good and works in their life, it gets easier and easier to make choices based on how I feel in a thoughtful way, right? And sometimes we do want to just order a little something so we're not sitting there with, but sometimes it's like, no, if someone is uncomfortable because I'm not hungry, I, I could be polite about it, but that's not my problem. So it really is, again, a matter of choosing in the moment what's going to make you feel your best. And that gets easier and easier over time. So once you flip that switch and become fat adapted, it gets easier to, a lot of people make their family lunches or make their dinners or you're preparing food. I had clients who are chefs in a kitchen. Then you have to figure out who's doing the tasting. And so it just gets easier the better you feel.
Okay.
And the more you practice making choices based on how you feel, it just gets easier and easier. It just is a no-brainer. And I say every aspect of life gets better when you're a person who keeps an eating window. It's like, that's a bold claim. Okay, so just imagine you've got intermittent fasting as the foundation. When you're an intermittent faster, all the other things that you care about, clear meditation, your fitness, high performance and productivity at work, being a calm, patient person, like all the things that your food choices, your fitness, I think I said fitness, all the things that matter to you get clearer and easier when you fast clean and keep an eating window.
Wow. Well, I was going to say too, you mentioned exercise, all that stuff, lifestyle, but factors, but like even sleep and stress management.
That's right.
You said something to me when we talked on the phone the other day about how it quiets the noise. That's a
Yeah.
brilliant way. That's a brilliant statement. I'd love for you to explain what you mean by that.
So it hit me many years ago. It's not a diet, it's a quiet. And the quiet is that when your body is in a fasted state, in a repair state, the noise gets quiet. All religious, spiritual meditation traditions say prayer and fasting. Why? Because it just gets cleaner and clearer, a sharper discernment, creative thoughts that you might have never had before. The noise about when am I eating? One of the things that's very, very hard for people in today's food environment is constant craving. And one of the reasons that people are so relieved by, Ozempic and the other semaglutide GLP-1 is it quiets the noise. But guess what else does? Fasting clean and having an eating window. It gets really quiet during the fasting hours. And then you're free to go about your day. And it's the opposite of what people would imagine. They'd be like, aren't I just starving all the time and constantly craving food? No, it's the opposite. That's why when I was standing there in my mom's kitchen, I suddenly felt like myself again, which is clear, sharp, grounded in my body, peaceful.
Well, I love this. This is so, so interesting because I did notice that. It's that the quieting of the quieting the noise is that to me, that meant like, I don't think about being hungry. And I think
Right.
that's something, and I wanted to bring that up with you is the Ozempic and the other GLP-1s, because I'm hearing a lot about this now and everyone's looking for this. How do we get this done? Because, or how can we get this? Because everyone's doing it. It's the
Yeah.
miracle. And what you said about this is that it's something that is for people that just think about food all the time, or they think they literally are wired to just constantly be thinking about it. And when we're constantly thinking about something like an addiction, if it could be a drug or anything else, it's really impacting everything in our lives. We literally are just, it's like when we're, we meet someone new and we're dating, and it's like all you can do is think about that person. It's like it takes over. It's like everything is just, it consumes us. And
Yes.
so Ozempic and these other GLP-1s take care of that. But you said, which I agree with, because it works for me that way, is with intermittent fasting. I don't think about food like I used to. I used to think that's what all we did all day is cooked, and we figured out what we were going to make and what we were going to eat every day. And that was just like our lifestyle. And it's
Yep.
not that way anymore.
No, it doesn't have its claws in us as much. And again, this idea of appetite correction is a phrase coined by Dr. Bert Herring. We have an appetite center in our brain that regulates our hunger and satiety hormones. And when we're fasting and keeping an eating window and become a fat burner, the body is then has a greater, clearer ability to inform us of the food it wants and the quantity that it wants. And one way that we can help that along, not only fasting clean and having an eating window, but as soon as we start feeling inspired to take out ultra processed food, cereal, crackers, sugary things, any, refined carbohydrates, it makes the appetite center, work even better, because in the presence of ultra processed food, the satiety signals go offline. So the next thing that we can do to really help ourselves quiet the noise is to start reducing the ultra processed food, which means eat more real whole food.
This is great. I'm so glad you brought that up, because ultra processed foods is in the US and in many other Western countries, it's so popular. And it's just, that's what you see and that's what people live on. And but I want just to, again, we're going very basic, define what ultra processed foods are like. Well, give us examples of what ultra processed foods are.
So basically anything that comes in a package. So the ultra processed food would be like almond milk, salad dressing, cereal, energy bars, foods that have been marketed oftentimes to have us believe they're healthy. Anything with preservatives and emulsifiers, and they're designed with hyper palatability. So that means some super smart group of PhDs somewhere designed a food that is the perfect creaminess, crunchiness package. It's designed to make us want more. And it's designed to take the satiety hormones offline. So one of the most ultra processed food that I have witnessed in my many, many years of coaching people is coffee creamer, not heavy whipping cream. The creamers, you look at the creamer section in the grocery store, it's astonishing how many creamers there are, and everybody has their favorite one. And it's like, you are going to take that away from me, like full dead hands. It's like that level of passion and needing a coffee creamer, that's got its closet in people. So
and what always occurs, that's ultra processed. And that's something that whenever I hear, like, I can't have something, this has always been my thing. It's like I'm being rebellious, the rebellious person that I was,
yes,
is that it's like, there's got to be a way. That's what I always say. And you can't tell me what to do. And there's got to be a way. And so then I would instantly say, I don't use coffee creamers, but if I did, I'd be thinking, how can I make that myself where it's healthy? So if I really want it, what's a way that I can actually make it? And maybe that's not the right way in this case, but I'm thinking, okay, if heavy cream's okay, or if milk, can I find natural flavorings to make something similar that would actually work, that wouldn't be ultra processed? And that's just one example. It's like, it's something you just, it's like you're thinking of new ways. I'm, if there's something I really, really want and I really like, I'm like, okay, there's got to be a way to make this that's actually going to work for me. And it may not always work, but if it's finding a replacement for it, like if someone likes potato chips or like those kind of snacks, and to me, I'm more of a salty person than a sweet person, or is what I like to eat, savory foods. And so I'm always looking for things that I can make that I can kind of hack my brain. It's like if it's, whatever it is that's salty that I can do that hopefully has protein. I'm always trying to find protein things too that I can make, that I can have. And then I'm making big batches of it and I'll freeze it or do whatever to make that work for myself. But it's how can we still get what we want, but and feel healthy? And what did you say? It's that whole thing about feeling good. So
All about feeling good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I love that what you said too. And then the thing about, all these high nutrition bars, and what about things like, protein shakes, or, just different things that we're buying and we're supplementing with, because gosh, I tell you, when I live in Argentina right now at my place, and this selections, everything's so healthy. It's like you get a lot of natural foods. There's not a lot of prepackaged foods here, which is great. But then on the other hand, when I go back and I walk in the grocery store for the first time after being away for several months, I'm like, oh my God, there's just so much choice here. It's like, what's going on? And we do have a lot of choice. And so it makes it a little more challenging when it's, well, let's see, if I could just buy this and it's already made versus I have to make that myself, chicken stock, just different thing, bouillon cubes, it's, all that kind of thing. There's a lot of things that make a little more time. So you just got to weigh it out and find things that make you feel good. Well,
That's
so
right.
yeah. Yeah. So I want to touch on too about going back to menopause, and how do you, as we're dealing with midlife and hormonal changes, is there anything that you do? Because you're a coach, and so everyone, definitely reach out to Laurie. I'll have all of her contact information in the show notes here. She does one-on-one coaching, and she also does group challenges. So definitely check out her website and her links below. They're there. But yeah, tell us, like, do you have specific approaches for individual needs as someone going through menopause and they're facing these different challenges, and like the weight loss, they just can't lose weight. And they're courageous enough to say, you know what, I want to actually do the work, and not work, but I want to make a change and not just go to something like Ozempic or whatever to take the shortcut.
Well, I really believe that what's damaging to anyone's hormones, but women's hormones, is over restriction and over pushing. So my coaching really is in the vein of gentle is the way. And gentle is different for everyone, meaning some people might feel absolutely amazing with a 2-hour eating window. Other people might feel amazing with a 9-hour eating window. And so no matter whether you're a man or a woman, and no matter your age, we want to discover the eating window and fasting schedule that feels the best for you, works with your life, and yields the results that you're after. And so for a woman in perimenopause and menopause, we are discovering that the hard push that got us this far in life, those days are over. Now, people then think, oh no, if I'm not pushing hard, how will I achieve anything? Okay. As I said, gentle is the way. So I have 4 cornerstones in my coaching for establishing a healthful foundation. And that the first cornerstone is the clean fast. The second cornerstone is a spirit of curiosity, leaning in and discovery rather than punishment model. We're in the spirit of discovery and experimenting and finding out what has us feel our very best. And then the third cornerstone is customization. What works for you is individual. And then the fourth cornerstone is continuing. I used to say consistency, and I feel like consistency is a judgment that's kind of in the perfectionism model. And I'm more interested in what are you doing today to continue, as opposed to have you been consistent. And so I just lost my train of thought.
I was saying that's forward thinking, because I love that where it's continuing. It's not what you didn't do.
That's right.
Because you're not, there's a little bit of a punishment or feeling like I haven't been consistent. So it's, my old beliefs were, gosh, I already messed it up. So I mean, it's too late for me. I gotta,
Right.
but versus continuing, that's really liberating.
So women in menopause is what you asked.
Yeah, and what you do with clients for specific, as they're going through other specific things that to fit individual needs.
So what we do is we look at what urgent or important health things do you need to turn around? Do you have weight loss goals? But most important, what's happening with your liver enzymes and your A1C. And so we look through the lab work together, and we look at what you're currently doing, what, what does your day look like now? When do you eat? What do you eat? And then we gradually together start to establish those clean fasting hours and shrink that eating window. And that's different for everyone. Like I said, there could be a 52-year-old woman who has a 2-hour eating window and a 52-year-old woman who has a 9-hour eating window. And everyone's fitness is different. Everyone's on different medication. But once we reach what I say, I help women age 44 to forever. Once we reach that, you're solidly in perimenopause at age 44, line in the sand, that gentle is the way. So this is not the fasting Olympics. It's not a hard push. You're not stressing yourself out. We're not raising cortisol while you're fasting. It's really a remarkable way to live. And
Mm.
it's remarkable seeing people feel better and better and better. And it's a miracle to lose weight in perimenopause and keep it off and do it gently.
Wow. Well, 45 when I started, I just didn't know what it was. As I said, after my husband passed away, that was probably at that stage, and I just didn't know it. And actually, I lost 25% of my body weight after
Mm,
he passed within a very
mm,
short period of time. I've managed to keep it off, but it's not managed to keep it off, but it's just part of my lifestyle. And then we talked about identity, and something that occurred to me is at one point in the mirror, I looked at myself and I said, "Wow, I'm a skinny person. I never was." And that's that was the goal, but it literally shifted how I saw myself. So when I
mm,
put on clothes that maybe it would have been a little baggy that were my old, the old weight, I went, "These aren't for me." Or I went to the tailor and I went and had tons of clothes taken in. And, it was something that just literally shifted how I saw myself. And
mm.
then just doesn't it's not something that occurs to me. I do get on the scale and I do check, but it's more of just to make sure that I'm staying at a level that I wanna be. But
Yeah.
I know there are other ways to do it, but it's just something that it doesn't even occur to me to not be that way now. But I think there's just so many different things that I love the way that you tailor it to individuals, and I think that's why it's so important, ladies, to have a coach, have someone to work with you, especially when you're getting started, because, it's you're not alone, it just helps you see you're not alone, and then your groups and having other people that that are doing the same thing and on the same journey, and I love that you have these things, Lori, because I think it's just we need this. We need people like you that are women like you that are creating these things and supporting, and it's just so wonderful. So thank
Thank
you.
you. I love every minute of it. And, we do arrive at a protocol like this, probably with health issues to turn around or weight to lose. But the big picture that the world that I'm creating, that I'm inviting people to step into, that I'm coaching people inside of is how can I be a person who takes really good care of myself right now, no matter what's happening in life? Because mostly in our society, when we're experiencing great joys and fun or extreme hardship, the first thing that gets set aside is how well we take care of ourselves. And what if I could very simply, gently, peacefully, consistently, no matter what's happening in life, be a person who's taking really good care of myself right now? And so that's what I'm always listening for and aiming for, if you will, in my coaching with people, because that provides so much peace of mind and freedom when people aren't stopping and starting and I did it and I didn't do it. It's just like, no, every day I live in a world where I take really good care of myself no matter what's happening in life. That is
Oh,
liberating.
oh, that's so good. That is so good. That is self-love. That is also self-love.
People want that.
They do, they do. Well, I have to ask you this question. Have you faced any professional setback or criticism for promoting intermittent fasting
Well,
and navigating these challenges?
when people don't understand what it is, for sure. Now, I'll go big pic. Some of the movements are intuitive eating. So people think, well, if you're restricting, you're going against what your body's asking for, or healthy at any size movement. Very important. I love whatever shape people's bodies are. And if you think of it in terms of feeling well, if each individual can look inside themselves and say, I'm sleeping well, I can do all the things physically I want to do, the mental noise is quieted, like all I want people doing what comes naturally for their body that has them feel their absolute best. And so when people don't understand intermittent fasting and they think it's a punishment and a restriction and it's unnatural, I want people to realize it's the most natural. We're at our best when we're in a fasted state and we're fat adapted. And I think then and only then does the idea of intuitive eating actually work, because we've quieted the noise, the hormones are balanced and working correctly, and we can actually hear the signals that our body is giving us because we're a fat burner, not a sugar burner. And we can choose the foods that have our body feel amazing and not just reacting to every stomach growl. And I really want people to understand that this isn't a restriction. So when people push back and say intermittent fasting is just another newfangled diet plan, I want people to really realize that it's a lot more than that. And it's not a judgment about anybody's body. It's a matter of being as healthful and feeling amazing as you possibly can and quieting the noise so you can choose food that has you feel better and better and better.
Oh, that's so good. That is so good. It's just, this has been such a great conversation. And I just want to thank you for it because it's something that I see so much about. And I've read lots of books and I've watched a lot of videos. And I think the way that you've defined it is just so graceful, so gentle, so palatable and so doable. And so I hope all of you reach out to Laurie and find her resources at the very least and follow her. And also, if you want to hire her, I think it'd be great if you did that because again, one thing I occurred to me when I was preparing is what a great listener you are. And you just have this ability to really be present with people. And it's really, really a blessing. Thank you.
Mm, thank you. Thank you
All right.
so much. It
Are there
matters
any,
a lot to me.
thank you. Are there any last words of wisdom you'd like to offer before we wrap up today?
I just think, we went off in a lot of different directions, which is so much fun. I could keep talking with you forever. And that's why I love my job so much, because I get to support people all day with this. But I really encourage people to keep it very, very simple. There are two parts to every day: the fasting hours, the clean fasting hours, and your eating window, and you get to say. And so I just always leave people with, when's your eating window today? I have a fantasy that everybody just has it. You sleep and you have an eating window and life gets better.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much for being here today, Laurie. And
Thank
thank you,
you, Jill.
everyone. Yeah, it's a real pleasure. So everyone, please, if you like this channel, can you do me a quick favor and hit the subscribe button and also hit the bell so you're notified of all the upcoming great interviews we have. And, it helps this channel really more than you know. And the bigger the channel gets, you've seen it's been getting bigger. We've been growing so fast. But the bigger the guests we get, like Laurie, we are able to really attract more guests. So we really want you to do that. So please subscribe and share this with others because there's great valuable information here for all of us in midlife and going through menopause or after menopause that we want to continue to bring to you. So thanks again, everyone. And thank you again, Laurie.
Thank you, Jill.
Amazing. All right. Take care, everyone.